because everybody else is
Suffering.
suffering from something.
I'm
good?
good. I was sick all last week, so I'm good now.
Oh, Lillian, you're better?
Yes, I'm just injured, so I'm just sitting with this one out.
Oh, I understand.
Call me, I could pick you up. I don't know where you live, but Newington is not that large.
Any of
Oh
us,
yeah, nah, it's only like a little thing that was last minute I wasn't thinking about, so it's fine. I'll be in next time.
Okay,
we are live and recording.
all right. Call the meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance. Oops. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
Of America,
and to the republic
for
which
which
stands
stands
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first is public participation. I guess you're on.
Been quite a while. The council did not take a vacation break or take one day off, so we've been meeting all summer and additional meetings. Many of them should be.
Yeah.
Knows full well about. That's the most important thing is that we have a town manager. And so taking over the reins. Back here. Having time to for us. And
Wait a minute, she gets,
Barbara should get the round. of
sorry
applause.
for
Yeah. Thank you.
Regular, there are questions you could ask me from me if I've forgotten something. Taking the helm across the street. I do want to point out to you, once again, I've told Jamie, I've told Mayor, I've told my constituents several times that I am the only liaison that has attended, that's been appointed, that has attended most of these meetings. I don't know why the other person isn't attended. They claim they were changed by someone else. I heard nothing. It's not really why I'm responsible, just the fact that I have been here. And I don't know why the other liaison or replacement for liaison, which could very easily be done, because that's not been to the site.
do you know who it is?
H.A. Chotinkas.
Tiniakis?
He was appointed officially, pointed out others that he was to go. I was told, oh, we're going to have someone else be there, and this is for you to do. And and they have not come back to the council. I'll be honest with you. You can feel there. Representing. A person represent. I think. That. And I think I've done that, sure. That's it. If I were on this council, I'd be concerned, about not being represented. That's what we should do. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Might have had a time.
Please, I just want to just address Counselor Daigle here in regards to and I don't speak for the party per se, and I don't want to overstep my bounds really, but I will personally call our party chairman, Mr. Kelly, and address that with him. That's the best I can really do. Because it bothers me. Frank. But you know, I agree with you, but I don't want to put my mouth, I don't belong. But that's a concern.
I hope you do.
Really know for me, it's
mentioned again after so much time.
No, you're very, I think you're very dedicated. I have utmost respect for you. Oh, no, but, the climate is just ridiculous. I need a breather.
Okay, staff report.
Oh, sorry, Ed has his hand up as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a few concerns. Can you tell us, as far as the grant money that we received for the Meals on Wheels or the congregate lunch, how long is our grant money gonna last? And have we worked on getting more grant money to keep the program going?
I can talk about that during the staff report if you'd like. And then what was your other, yeah, I'll address that in a moment. I have some info for you.
Okay, and I know at the last meeting I attended by Zoom in West Virginia, but you couldn't hear me. We were talking about security cameras at one point.
Yeah, I can address that as well.
Could address that?
Well, yes, okay. So in my staff report, that round of applause that you gave me earlier was definitely should have been for Barbara because she was phenomenal. Like she stepped in like nobody's business and took over seamlessly and smoothly. And she was doing two jobs too, so I really appreciate everything she did. I was the acting town manager for 8 months, as you're aware. The last 2 months or so, just under 2 months, I did serve a dual role here and there. But what that meant, of course, was you only do the priorities of each. You have to prioritize and you can't be in 2 places at once. So it was a lot, but it worked out fine. I've effectively been back here now for 2 weeks because I did take a quick vacation once the new town manager started. So I'm really just getting back into the swing of things. And the past 2 weeks, I've really focused on looking at the status of our various projects, some of which Barbara has been able to continue with, and some of which obviously needed to wait till I got back because one person cannot do all of that. And really though, I've been spending most of my time trying to reconnect with the members here and trying to go to lunch and trying to, go to the lunchroom, and stop by programs. I did an Olympics trivia contest, just walk around, talk to people. I sat at the bus stop, for the trips for a bit. So now I'm back and I'm trying to really focus again on our operations and kind of resume where we left off last December, which again isn't to say, I mean, we've made tremendous progress with Barbara here and I appreciate that, but there's some larger projects that we're going to need to talk a little bit more about. The new town manager, Jonathan, he's running. I'm trying to help him where I can, but also leave him alone so he could do his thing. He did come here and take a tour last Tuesday. And hopefully he was impressed by our operations. He did have several questions, but I think my understanding is he doesn't have a lot of experience with senior centers, in his previous job, which is fine because we'll teach him very quickly. But he said he will definitely have some more questions and I do have a follow-up meeting with him this week. So hopefully he can understand like the full scope of our services and how we may differ from other senior centers in the state. I could address lunch next because it was on my list, congregate and Meals on Wheels. As you know, over the spring, we had a little bit of a scare in that the community renewal team reduced our funding for both the congregate in-person lunch and the Meals on Wheels. The town council sprung into action, which we are extremely appreciative of, and allocated ARPA funding in the amount of, I remember the amount. It was, it's escaping right now, but it was like 15,000. It was enough to cover. And then during the budget process, the town council allocated us an additional $13,000 for nutrition as well. After that happened on May 7th, the state legislator announced that they had come up with some funding to continue with the congregate, to restore the congregate and Meals on Wheels programs fully for the rest of the CRT's fiscal year. CRT's fiscal year ends on September 30th. We still have the ARPA funding. We'd have to encumber it by the end of this year, by December 31st. And we, of course, have the budgeted money that would be through next June. So just as earlier today, I was thinking to myself, you know what? We're almost at September 30th. Perhaps CRT will be okay. We would still probably want to keep and encumber that ARPA funding because there's no reason to believe that they wouldn't run into the same issues in their next fiscal year too. So it's good to have that extra funding there. We did receive an email from CRT earlier today, so it's timely that they are not cutting yet, but any new Meals on Wheels applications will be on hold indefinitely. And that is due to budget constraints. And this is information that's just a couple hours old. obviously a huge concern because we don't want to turn anybody away. I also have found in past experience that that's the first step that they often take when they're experiencing budget shortages. So tomorrow I'll get on it and see if we can utilize our own funding to pay for Meals on Wheels for new recipients. It does not affect current recipients. I don't want to take your step on your toes, but Lillian has her hand up. I don't know if.
Oh, okay.
I was
Lily,
just waiting my turn until you were done talking. I
Okay,
didn't
I'm
want to.
sorry. I saw the hand pop up and okay.
Um,
So-
my one question about that is, I know we were told the ARPA funds have to be used for the CRT program. Was the first set of funds that we got from the town council also only for the Meals on Wheels and the congregate lunch programs? I don't remember that off the top of my head.
So the ARPA funds, the council specifically allocated to use for nutrition. So that would be for to cover shortfalls for the program. The funding that the town council gave us in the budget, which just took effect on July 1st, is for nutrition. So again, we would use it for shortfalls, but if we don't have any shortfalls, then what I could talk about kind of the next step in this, which is what I was going to talk about until I got the email today, was if we don't need that funding to cover shortfalls, I would like to begin as a longer term project that I was thinking about last year, but now that I'm back, I can focus on is reducing our reliance on CRT for congregate meals. Which doesn't mean dumping them all together, but perhaps we can start partnering. Every senior center does it differently. So some senior centers do all CRT like we do, but they don't necessarily do 5 days a week. We're one of the largest meal sites in the state. So we kind of feel disproportionately when there's cuts, right? So maybe we reduce CRT to 3 days a week and we partner with a local restaurant or a farm to table or something like that. I was thinking about how we could become more self-sufficient and reduce our reliance on. That's a longer term project that requires some funding, but we have seed funding for that now. So we can look at ways to do that. I'm working with our grant writer that the town utilizes. Her name is Sonia, and she's excellent. So she's looking into funding and partnerships. I'm seeing what other senior centers are doing. Some of them have moved fully to doing their own lunches, like preparing and cooking. I don't think we're going to be there for a while, but there are definitely different options out there. So I'm looking at that. So to summarize, it looks like we might be on step 1 of funding cutbacks again. I would assume it'd be to the end of the fiscal year, which would only put it a couple weeks until it should be restored. But I don't see any confidence amongst the senior center directors in the area that they will go their next fiscal year without cuts. So we could sleep soundly because we have funding. And I will say that thanks to the generosity of the town council and of the public, because when this initially occurred last spring, everybody sprung into action and we had individuals donating food and donating money for meals. We had fundraising. We had people who were going to fundraise for us. We had assisted living centers donating pasta and pizza. And, so we will always make sure that people have food. We will always make sure people are fed.
wow, that's a good report.
I'm not done yet, but Mark has his hand up. No, it's okay. No, please ask.
Can we do something like fundraisers, like a golf charity tournament for
That sounds fun.
and winter, something for every season to make extra money. Like I'm thinking like that, like I'm a golfer, so I'm just gonna say like right off the bat, like what a golf benefits that benefits the senior centers.
We could fundraise.
Indian Hill and or Stanley, right? Because we pay taxes on one of the holes in Stanley. So right.
Yeah, we can. I mean, the library fundraises extensively. They have a friends group to do it for them, right? So we would have to probably put together some sort of volunteer committee or something, but the staff can lead. But it's something, if we're going to do something like that, there are lots of really fun idea for fundraisers out there that we could certainly take a look at.
Are you interested?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
let's learn to golf.
Did you know, I know across the mountain are another senior center, Rocky Hill. They have their congregate meals catered by Mitchell's. And I believe they charge $5 a person. Do you know if that's a reduced price and they get some funding for it also, or is it just?
It has to be. They has to be somewhere, either they have a grant or something is defraying the cost, because no one's going to do lunch for $5 anymore. They're also a smaller site, so I don't know. These are the things I'm looking at though. Those are the types of options I'm looking
I
at.
did.
Yeah.
It once,
Yeah.
and it's a very large amount. They only $5.
Mhm.
Where if we had, because I know how much we spend for our meals on congregate. If we had ours also catered, I think it would help us a lot more better, have better meals and
Yeah.
less expensive.
I don't have any desire to raise the price. So if you didn't know, it's $3, a $3 suggested donation, but we don't track who donates and who doesn't. And I know some people are more generous and some people can't afford to give so much. So it's heavily subsidized by the federal funding or the state funding, very heavily subsidized. Again, any restaurant doing a lunch for $5, chances are there's a subsidy there somewhere. But that's exactly the kind of things I'm looking at. So I will report back to you and have some more info.
Yeah, because this happens
Longer-
every year.
Twice this year.
And
Yeah.
I always wonder why CRT doesn't change their fiscal year, because it happens at the end of their fiscal year. They always find more money.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. It's, I
And
don't
if they change it to the summer or something.
I think they're on their fiscal year. Yes.
I didn't think of that. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I believe because they receive federal funding, that's probably why. They do more than just nutrition, of course. So I think that's probably, part of the reason too. So, any other questions on nutrition? Oh,
I wanted to say real quick, because you weren't in the meetings earlier this year because you were more than busy for our town. We had also mentioned questioning if we could get some of the meals from like the high school catering or the middle school catering, or like the cafeteria option. So I just wanted to make sure that was maybe perhaps an option that you also thought of on the road.
I
to
am
the
looking into that. I was going to reach out to the director of the Culinary Institute at the high school. The only thing is, of course, that's only during the school year, but it's certainly an option, something that we can look at as well.
I do know Barbara's spoken to them also.
Yeah. So, that's, we just re-upped with Ambassador Transportation for our out-of-town dial ride service, to medical appointments. It's Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, and Newington share a grant to do so. So we'll remain with that service for the next year. Weathersfield actually administers the grant, so that's one of the things we don't have to do, thankfully. But we take advantage of it. And then, like I said, I'm just getting back into everything. I could tell you a little bit more later, upcoming activities, a lot of great things going on. We are desperately now in need of a part-time dial-a-ride driver. It's been vacant for over 2 years now. When we first reopened from the pandemic, it wasn't such a big deal because we were kind of easing in, but now our drivers are booked. We're full. You might not see the bus full if you're seeing it going down the road during the day, but just in the sheer number of appointments that we have, you can't be in two places at once, right? So we have to, and some days we're finding ourselves needing to prioritize a little bit, saying, well, if you have a doctor's appointment and you're going to the library, well, the doctor's appointment has to take priority because we can't be in two places at once. So we'll pick you up a little later for the library. And then finally, almost a year after I initially started this project of applying for the ARPA funds and then the town council approving them over the spring and applying for them, we actually just received approval. So we will be receiving our $90,000 in ARPA funds, I would hope, in the next couple of weeks. This is not for nutrition. This is completely separate. This is money that the federal government put aside for state of Connecticut senior centers only. It flowed through the state unit on aging, and they were the ones who used a formula to determine how much each senior center in the state got. We received $90,000. At a meeting a year ago, I showed you our proposals. I didn't grab them again tonight, but I will share them all with you again. They had to be somewhat related to programs or services in relation to COVID mitigation. So we can't hire somebody with, there's certain things we can't use them for. Specific projects, we're going to make some improvements to the garden to make it more accessible.
Good.
We're going to look at redoing our TV lounge to make it a little more welcoming and comfortable and get some accessible furniture in there. We will be redoing one of the big projects I'm excited to work on is to make a maker space out of our wood shop, which will retain the woodworking equipment, but there'll be other things to do in there as well, because that's an underutilized area. We're going to start, if we actually are able to get a part-time dial-a-ride driver, an adventure club, which will be seed money for that. So programs outside of our center that could be of interest to people, such as going on hikes or things like going to museums at all accessibility levels. We're going to work on that. And there's just a whole bunch of, some of them are specific to COVID, like new air filters, hand sanitizer, things like that, providing transportation to people who need to get COVID tested, things like that, because some of it does have to be specific to COVID, which is still out there, even though, we kind of move on with normal life now. So when I get that info, I'll get all that to you.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's like $90,000 is 4 times our non-salary operating budget. So to have money to do things like this is phenomenal.
Yes, everyone.
Mark.
So, my first thing is we really, as a commission, I believe, need to plan way into the future about COVID.
Mhm.
Okay, because this whole thing of COVID, I mean, there is no precedent for COVID except for what the Spanish influenza from 1918 or whatever. We really need to in my humble opinion, my estimation, we need to really, because that's where our capital's coming from. We need to take what's bringing money for us and really capitalize. I hate to really put it in this vein, but my initial concern as someone who's worked in healthcare in the past, and that's a background, concerned about our elderly and our disabled in our population that come here to protect them from COVID and long COVID. So it's a really general kind of a point. It's not so much a question, but it's just more of a kind of a caveat emptor, kind of buyer beware, kind of. We really need to really dig our claws, if you will, into this whole COVID thing because I think the sooner that we can address it here at this center, and I'd like this to be the model center, right? It already is, but we can improve, right? But anyways, having said that, it gives us an impetus, something to work on. And I really don't know where to go with that. Maybe
Can you give me an example of what you mean, like to address COVID?
right?
Because we do in our operations every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm not-
But like, is there something specific? Like, are you looking for us to like become like a testing center or like, I'm just kind of ideas or
More
thoughts?
outside things or what?
So what we do there is we follow the CDC guidance and I work closely with the health district as well. And where the CDC guidance is now is that COVID is treated as the same as RSV, the flu, in that the guidance is, stay home if you're sick. But there's no longer the guidance of like staying 6 feet apart or but we are very, very, very cognizant of COVID circulating around. So when we can do things outside, we do. When we get funding to buy tests, we buy tests and give them out to people at lunch so they have a test on hand so they can know if they have COVID, things of that nature. So if there's any like ideas, I'd love to, not now, but at any time, I'd love to explore more ways that we can do that.
just suggest on that, maybe if we form like a COVID subcommittee.
Hmm.
And maybe since I volunteered the question or the point, I'd be willing to do my due diligence and educate myself on
Sure.
COVID and virology and epidemiology and everything involved in
Maybe we can work with the health district and some of our, yeah.
health district.
And I think those funds that you just explained, the 90 some odd funds are going to take care of a lot of the COVID issues. You said how the filtration and the hand sanitizers and all that kind of stuff
Yes.
too.
And it is interesting because again, this process started a year ago when COVID was still circulating. I mean, it's circulating probably more than it was a year ago, but there were more CDC related guidelines and precautions in place than there are now. So some of them almost seem a little dated, like, buying like the hand sanitizer stations and the COVID tests, but they're still valuable and worthwhile to have. So we will have them.
Oh, they can be used for anything.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Good to have hand sanitizer anyway, right? So
I know that when I worked in an office, one of the issues that we had, because a lot of people were getting sick, was they replaced all of our things in our restroom touchless faucets and toilets and stuff that automatically flush. Perhaps that, because we have used that money towards that, possibly replacing those things with automatic ones that you just put your hand underneath. It's replacing the faucet with that instead of touching it. So many things we touch, and if someone touches it that's sick, then the next person comes along. Just like now, I mean, people are aware, like our silverware, now we're putting them in bags so no one touches anything. So if we can make enough things that don't have to be touched, will basically prevent people from getting sick from other people.
Yeah. Agreed. We have moved in that direction, but there's definitely some more to go. That is the end of my report.
Anyone? Yeah, I'm trying to look around. Any other questions
Oh,
for?
about the cameras.
I have I don't want to go out of order on the agenda. I do have a building update, but
Okay.
I can talk whatever you
All
want.
right,
Okay.
so we're in old business.
So the budget, I will actually have a better update for you via email because finance is just closing out the annual budget for the year. So the things such as the interest on the accounts and the budget and everything else, it's just, the timing is it'll be ready tomorrow. So I will get it to you. Josie did send me a message though, that we have from July 1st, we've collected about $13,000 in donations since July 1st, which is solid. That's a good number for us to have at this point in our membership renewal drive. So we are in September, so we've already done one full round of membership renewal. I believe we have around 1,400 members who've renewed in town, and then maybe another 350, 400 out of town. But this is the point where we do a second round of people who didn't renew the first time as a reminder, so we'll get like another wave coming in.
So the 13,000 is from membership.
Membership donations, because we waived the fee, correct? So
Mhm.
people give donations instead.
I didn't know we waived the fee for people out of town.
I think we did. I wasn't
Yeah,
here for
we-
that meeting, but
no.
I think Barbara said we did.
Yeah.
When we voted, I didn't know that that was a separate thing. We voted as just a whole to waive fees. I never thought about out of town, but I also agree that maybe I would be interested in out of town being revisited at some point, perhaps, if we are looking for funds.
So anecdotally, I don't think it's gonna make a huge difference. It's $10 to join from if you're out of town, and most people are donating that much or more anyway. So I don't know that the $10 that we're getting is that we're not getting is making a huge difference if people are donating the same amount, but definitely when this comes back up again, unfortunately, it won't come back up again until next year, but we can look at that. We should revisit it anyway every year.
Yeah,
So,
do we have a lot of out of towners?
we have about 350, 400.
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
I mean, they're not all super active, but some of them just come for one thing or here and there, and some of them come all the time because they like our center.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. Okay. So that was,
Mark has
oh,
questions.
Yeah, thank you.
what is wrong? I can't turn my head.
No,
this
oh,
way.
no.
I'll be alternate.
Thank you.
Okay. No, in all seriousness, we have a metric as to, or numbers as to, just out of curiosity for the commission to know, so that we know, just to know, to know that to not to know, than not to know. And I believe in this specific situation, would we make more money if it was a set price, something you would have?
No,
It would be more if it was
Well-
$5, or we make it, because right now we're at no fee, no set fee, and we made 13K in donations.
but most people are donating more than the $5 fee.
Right, so
so-
you're like, this is statistics and.
Yeah, it might be a little bit
bar
of my
graph.
math brain here, but I think, so what you'd have to really do is go back and look, because we know that that most people donate more than $5. What we would need to go back and look is go back to 2019 or earlier, when it was a $5
Before
fee,
COVID.
to see how much people might have donated on top of their $5. If you look at the totals though, we're not losing money from not having a fee. We're still bringing in the same amount. It's just that people are doing it voluntarily. And I think that waiving the fee might push people to be a little bit more generous. But again, it's also the 4th year we've done it. And if we see it start to wane where we're not getting people to be quite as generous, then maybe we do reinstate the fee and we see what happens there for next year.
I like not having a fee because there are people out there that can't
Right.
afford it.
Who are, and although we do have mechanisms in place for people who can't afford it, a lot of people are, ashamed.
I handed them out to everybody, yeah.
Don't know to ask or might be ashamed to ask, and we can lose out on people that way.
Right.
So it's good
So
to have it.
I, for one, am happy that there is no fee.
And then door counters, that was something I was working on before I left. I have not had a chance to revisit it. Last I heard about it, as you know, the hardware is way out of date and not able to be fixed. So IT was looking at replacement hardware, but I don't think that's really in their top priority. So I will revisit that this month once I'm caught up.
Thank you.
All right, so we're, new business, so upcoming activities.
So again, because Barbara is fantastic, she has a very diverse list of programming that we're going to be looking at for the fall. September is National Senior Center Month. So the theme is powering connections. So there's a lot of different ways to stay connected, and Barbara kind of put together some programs for that. Our public safety picnic, it's very popular every year, will be here on September 27th. We're doing a walking competition. It's kind of independent, and then you report your steps, kind of like the health district competition, against several other senior centers. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good time of the year for it too. Several classes we got related to art and painting, and senior living options, an intro to line dancing, tips for increased happiness. Medicare Part D changes is always important. Fall preventions, how to play the ukulele, genealogy. Like if there's something random that you're interested in, she will find a class for it. And there's really just a lot of different fun things you can try out this month. We are also excited to be partnering with the CCSU again. They've been very good partners with us. We will be doing another iteration of the WISE program, September 24th, October 22nd, and November 19th. 2 of the classes will take place on the CCSU campus, in which we will provide transportation, and one of them will take place here, and that's when participants meet with students at CCSU, typically a psychology class or gerontology class, and they discuss intergenerational things of interest. CCSU is also going to help us with balance assessments and some exercise. It's by appointment. The information you can call, and Barbara can give you all the info. I think actually most of the dates are full now, but it's also free. Transportation is also provided, so it's a great way to
What
do that.
students are gonna be doing is that
Those would be the physiology and like that type of program.
athletic trainers?
Yeah, that type of thing.
Okay.
So those upcoming, our expo is going to be back on November 7th this year. We did do it a week earlier than usual, but I think it's better because we also did the Veterans Day ceremony, which is just a couple of days later. And so we just put out the invitations for those for the vendors. I expect another full sellout this year. We are going to close it an hour earlier this year because we find that it's a little too long. People leave, the vendors start to leave too. So we're excited about that. That's a fundraiser for us that usually makes, about $5,000 or $6,000 for us, which isn't bad for a couple hours.
No, and it's great. I mean, I totally enjoyed myself there.
Yes.
Learned a lot.
It's fun.
So all of you that have not attended, it's great. SDC age step.
What were you looking for with that? Because that popped up on the agenda and I wasn't
What
quite
is that?
sure. what that was for.
That was me. I had questioned the age ranges that are our members. That
Okay,
if there,
let me,
there was data about the ages of our memberships.
I can get that for you. I'll have to get it to you and email to you. I
That's
can
fine.
tell you off the top of my head that our average age is about 75.
Right.
But I will get you at age 18 and up. I'll get you all those statistics.
Perfect. Thank you. That's what I just wanted. Appreciate it.
I would do it now, but I'm not super confident that I'm going to be able to pull this up while the meeting is live and not lose it. So, okay.
Perfectly fine. Take your time.
Okay.
We can get it later.
Building
Oh, Mark
update.
has a question.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
It just depends to, Counselor, Commissioner Bradford's, question or point. What is the, average, expiration or necrosis or date for the, it's a, for a citizen? So what's the average age of, help me out, Karen.
Of a Newington
that-
citizen? Oh, death? Oh, I wouldn't know.
I know,
Yeah.
we're coming up, I know it's a really morbid question, I apologize to the committee, I don't, to the public at large. But I think that, that where I'm really going with that is extending people's quality of life, my mother, for example, to put my mom on the spot, bless her soul, she was very good at extending people's lives just by, her personality.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I know one person, I with this, she lost her husband, and she said, "I want to go too." The grandkids didn't want Nana to go, the daughter was struggling. They said, Pops went, we don't want mom to go too. It was right around the holidays. And I sent my mom into that team. I was, at that time, I was scheduled to just revert to team in Harvard Healthcare. And I put my mom there and, lo and behold, she lived 15 years past her expected. Doctors say you're not going to make it past a year. She says, my heart's going with my husband. And my mom gave her the extra 15 years. She passed at 102 instead of 80, whatever.
Wow, that's excellent. Yeah, that's awesome.
But the point being, I think some people want to, I think it's natural to want to live. Life is beautiful and you have a good quality of life. And if we can make the senior center such that you want to stay here, you want to, continue to live and thrive and not give up, then why not? And I think that a humanistic angle to this is with alternative intelligence, AI. I think a lot of people are kind of wondering what these holograms are. It's rather scary for some people that don't know. I think that if we can keep the center human and humane as much as possible, and please, and with this, let's not turn the people here into numbers, but let's keep the humanity as a person here.
That's our whole mission, right? Yeah. Our whole mission is to improve the well-being of older adults and adults with disabilities, right? So we're not a healthcare facility per se,
Right.
but that's our mission. And certainly the human part of it is the most important part of, of doing that. So I agree. As for in terms of the average age of death in Newington, I'm not sure that I've ever seen that statistic. I'm not sure. Good question.
State have something?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That would be
So-
the health department if they even calculate.
Probably.
They do.
But I know there's things too that are kind of like if you live in Newington your whole life and then you go to a nursing home out of town and you pass away there, they count that at that town. So I don't know, but we'd have to see.
Are you done? Building update.
So two things on the building. The window project is finally done, except for even if you look over there, there's masking tape on the window. But there's a couple of minor punch list items that are going to be handled in-house by our carpenter or facility staff. But the windows are complete. The project is complete. If you go not in this room, but along this hallway, there's the skylight windows. Those old glass blocks have been replaced by a frosted window. It looks fantastic. No issues. The remediation of the asbestos and the other items went well. The state very closely monitors that, all the remediation, and there were 0 issues reported. So everything's back to normal. Terry and Maria had their offices relocated for a decent part of the summer because of the remediation. They're back in their own offices. And as far as we know, except for maybe a touch-up paint here and there, everything is good. So we're very happy to have our new energy efficient windows. Some of these windows were original to the building, single pane, type thing. So we're happy. Staff isn't necessarily all that happy that the windows don't open, but we'll deal with that. So the windows are good. As if you weren't aware, we did have to change contractors halfway through because we had a number of issues prior to the environmental component. Remediation component where we were not comfortable with continuing with the contractors as well. I was in the town manager's office and the contractor agreed to walk away. So it did not affect us monetarily. It was still the same grant. We went to the next highest bidder who honored the bid and they did a fantastic job. That's the windows.
Since the window project is over with, can we remove the sign from the out front about the project? Because it looks like we're under construction.
Yeah, I have to ask when we can remove that because that's not our sign, it's the state sign. Because it's state funded. So we could ask. And then Ed had talked about security cameras. Over the winter, we had the State Department of Emergency Services come in and do a security assessment because this building does not have very many security features. It was covered by the state emergency funding, so we didn't have to pay for the assessment, but we do have to pay for the improvements. But we are starting, they made a number of suggestions, including some security cameras. That's going to need to be a budgetary item because they're not cheap and there's no funding for it right now. And it wouldn't really necessarily fall under ARPA, and at least in the current round that we had available to us. I might have to ask and see if there's anything available there. So we are beginning the improvements that aren't necessarily big money improvements. Very simple things like moving where we keep our recycling bins and things like of that nature. Changing some locks on doors, things like that. Eventually we will get there. It's definitely something that is on my list of priorities but it's not gonna happen like this week or this month. Just things like securing the garden a little bit better, some ADA things, but mostly security related items that we will be addressing throughout the next several months.
I know that a great job was done fixing the plumbing in the kitchen.
Yes,
What's happening with the generator? Where is that funding gonna come from?
that's facilities. So that's their budget, not ours. They're responsible for that. That may have some grant funding there because we're an emergency shelter, but it's not coming out of our budget. And I think they're gonna replace it one of these upcoming weekends when nobody's here.
Do we have any updates on the asbestos project or the de-asbestos project?
Yes, that was the windows. That's done. Done.
Oh, that's the windows. Okay.
Yep, yep. So not all, it was a very, very minor amount, very small amount, but it was up in not the windows that are at the ground level, but the skylight blocks that are along the front hallway that you would see like in the social work office, pretty much every room in this hallway, but this one. Those had a small amount of hazardous materials in the caulk, which
And there was-
necessitated remediation. Yeah.
And there was nothing around the stage or anything like that? I thought there was another asbestos issue over there.
No, not that I've ever been aware of. No.
Okay.
Yeah, we were told when Diane was here that there was asbestos there, which is why it got really expensive to do anything.
I don't, not heard that. I could check into it, but we certainly would have to be aware of any asbestos in the area and I've never heard a thing about it. So,
Okay. Public participation,
next meeting,
next meeting, sorry.
the next meeting is as a holiday, correct?
Rosh Hashanah starts at sundown.
So that would be October 2nd would be our next meeting according to our normal calendar. But Rosh Hashanah starts at sundown and you will be just back, right?
Yeah, I could come, but I'm getting back from a 22-hour flight the day before.
Is everybody available October 9th, the following
Yes.
Wednesday?
Yes.
Right? October 9th?
I'm sorry, Wednesday, October 9th at 6 o'clock, just a week later. Oh, no, then don't do that.
I wouldn't come. But if everyone else can come, that's all right.
Would you like me to put out an email, some possible dates and we could agree via email?
October 9th.
October 9th, okay? Okay, all right, we will. October 9th, next meeting at 6 o'clock. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, now we're on public participation. Anything, any comments? Okay, motion to adjourn?
That's it. I do have a question for Councilor Nagel. Could you kindly, if it is, I'll ask the council about, things like the fundraisers, like that call, that idea of like volunteer, that day, the night of ballroom, ballroom night. Why, I'm not sure, maybe I'm over, maybe I'm sorry. Interclock or. In other words, I kind of wondered what the little, type that would be, but, what your role actually is. So what is your role with your liaison between the town council and us? So we approach you as commissioners under what circumstance? Could you tell me as a, where can I ask you a question or a commissioner? Then you can go to the town council, perhaps as an emissary.
In this case, I would think, when in doubt, you would vote for mayor, or not the mayor, the town manager.
I would have dared directly, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Oh, I can't, well, yeah.
But the council doesn't make.
No, I think we could probably do that like at a staff and commission level. And maybe we could consult with the library, friends of the library for some ideas or logistic types of things. But I envision that being more of a group of volunteers who does that with some staff Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Parks and Rec or the library.
Yeah, yeah.
They all do fundraisers and they have friends of or
Yeah.
a board or something, a committee, whatever.
That specifically does fundraisers. They have a library as the board of directors, and then they have the friends, and the friends are the ones that are responsible for like the fundraising.
Well, thank you.
Okay, anything else? No? Okay. Lillian, anything else?
Nope, I was just gonna second your previous motion of conclusion.
Okay, do you want to make a motion?
Sure, I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Anyone want to second that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.